Can you stop being controlling?
I'm not being controlling. You're the one that's being controlling.
No, you're always Mr. Control.
Hey, is this the way some of the conversations start in your house? Well, join us today, and we're going to talk about how to get rid of your control.
Hi, this is Phil and Priscilla Fretwell here with Savage Marriage.
We're going to talk about how God is healing and restoring marriages today from betrayal, addictions, and the wounds of their past.
And what he did in our marriage, he can do in yours too.
Last Saturday, we asked Anna, our 16-year-old daughter, to take our younger daughter, Becca, to her volleyball practice.
Yes, and she was eager to do this. And she just got her license, so she was like, freedom.
And so we thought it'd be a quick trip, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back.
I mean, why? That's what it takes us, right?
It does for sure. But what happened is she wasn't home in 10 minutes. And I started saying, where is Anna at? Where is Anna? Because this can't take this long to go there and back.
Yeah, so we were looking at our Find My Friends app. Where is Anna? And we found out she was at the mall.
So I started thinking, why is she at the mall? What is she doing at the mall? And you might not think that's such a big deal, but see, you don't have the backstory on this because a few days earlier,
I was talking to Anna and we were talking about this guy who was messaging her, and he's a surfer guy. And so we went to his Instagram and we were looking through it, and we were just having a really good conversation. And she eventually said, it's probably not a good thing for me to follow this guy. And she blocked him.
Well, I kind of got the fringes of this conversation, and all I know is that Surfer Boy is interested in Anna. Now she's at the mall. She's parked. We don't know why. And in my mind, I start imagining she has arranged a rendezvous with Surfer Boy at the mall. And my imagination starts kind of spinning.
It starts spinning because of your own history.
Well, it did. I started to remember things I'd done in a car at 16 years old, right? And so in thinking about my own frailties and insecurities and problems, I started projecting that on her. And I started getting fearful of what is going on with her. And so eventually I say, I'm going to call her and see what's going on. So I pick up the phone and I say, hey, Anna, hey, where are you? I thought you were going to come right back around. And she said, well, I was just driving some and I'm at the Oviedo Mall. And I said, well, can you come on home? Because, we've got some things we're trying to work on here. And can you come on back to the house?
She said, yeah, no problem. I'll come home.
But the problem is, I'm using this app and it doesn't move maybe as quick as the car moves. And I'm sitting there watching this, and 10 minutes later, she's still parked in the parking lot. And so my mind starts really going out of control here. And I tell you, I said, I think I need to go get her.
And I'm like, what's the big deal? She was at the mall and she's coming back.
But see, the problem, my imagination is now running out of control on this. And so I start projecting my own problems with self-control, right? Because I had those and had those in my life, even with our marriage, with my whole issues with pornography and massage parlors and things like that, because I was unable to control myself. Now I start projecting on her that she's got the same problem and I need to control her because she will be unable to control herself. So you can see where the irrational thinking started originating and where that was taking me. So I jump in the car. I'm driving about 90 miles an hour and
not really.
No, really. And my head just starts spinning on this. And I'm thinking about all the things that is going to happen when I pull up at that mall. I'm going to pull up behind the car and I'll see those two heads in the back of that car. I'll pull up behind him. I'll run over there, open the side of that car door and pull his arm and pull him out of that car.
And end up in jail.
Well, I hope not, but
that's what would have happened.
Well, I didn't know, but that's what started going on in my head. And so I'm thinking about this all the way down there. I come into the parking lot, come back around where they're supposed to be parked, and she's not there.
Because she just walked in through the door.
Yeah.
And I'm calling you saying she's home.
And so I said, okay, now what I do? I have to go home. What do we need at the grocery store, Priscilla?
Green beans. Can you get me green beans?
So I'll pick up some green beans and kind of mask over why I wasn't home when she got there and where have I been. And so, this is what's all going on in my head. And I get home and we make small talk with Anna Hope, and she is fine. But I asked you, I said, hey, can we go back in the office and talk? And we did. And I told you, I said, hey, I think I was out of control of my control because I was not thinking rationally going through this. And I don't feel good about all this right now.
Right. I think we all feel that way sometimes when we go to the extreme of control. And afterwards, after we settle down, we say, man, what just happened? Why
We,
did I let myself go there?
we do. And, the Bible talks about control, but it's interesting. It talks about self control as part of
Yes.
the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians 5. And so we kind of miss that it's focused on self control. And we take it to, I need to control other people. Like so many times, when we see undesired behavior, we regard these as really fruit. There's an underlying root that's really causing us to act this way. And so I had to start looking at this. What is it that is causing me to act like this?
Right. If control is being the fruit, what is the root? And in this case, it was fear. And I think in most cases it's fear. And we have to ask the question, what are you fearful of? And in your case, it was probably, is Anna Hope going to do the stuff I did?
I think that's right. The fear was driving me. And, it reminds me of this Elizabeth Elliot quote,
Right.
which we've talked about.
It's a really good quote. And it's fear arises when we imagine we are the only one that this just depends on.
Yeah, we think everything depends on us and instead of God. I didn't look back to God at all in
No.
this situation, right? I was running with myself.
I mean, it's interesting when fear arises like that, we go to, I can do this. I got a handle on this. I know what to do and I'm going to do it. It's never looking to God.
It's true. When fear arises like this, we have to make a choice. We either run to faith or control. And I have to admit, many times my go-to is I'm going to run to control.
It's a natural. I mean, it's to give God a way or a place in the situation that is occurring, man, that takes a heart after God, right?
It
To say,
really
okay,
does.
Lord, I don't know how to handle this, but you do.
So in reflecting on this, I really had to ask the question, how did I wind up this way? How did I wind up with so much control embedded in my basic behaviors?
Well, religious people have a big problem with this, right? Because we're rule followers. We love the law and we want to do exactly what the law tells us to do.
I mean, the law, and I would say we used to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're the ones that didn't allow our kids to go to youth group. Remember?
Yeah.
I even told my daughter, Sarah, I said, I'm raising thoroughbreds. I'm not going to put you in with a whole bunch of jackasses. I mean, only because I thought I was doing a better job than other people with their kids.
Yeah. It really came from a place of pride and rule following.
Did. If you ask the older kids about Hope and Becca, they'll say, man, they're just getting to do a lot more stuff than we did.
Yeah, it's because we have relaxed some of the control and because we also relax some of the fear, right?
Right. Exactly.
But these things do still surface from time to time. And we have to look back at it that sometimes this religious root inside of us that focuses on keeping the law, it embraces a rule following culture, which means it embraces control.
Right. We control our kids. We control our spouses. Everything has to be controlled because we want a certain outcome. But what we've done is put people in a prison.
That really is true. And so if I had to really look deep and say inside of me, what else was surfacing here? I think it was a place of insecurity from my standpoint that I believe that the way that our kids act and what they do reflects on me. And so, you could say, well, aren't you really trying to protect them, Phil? Wasn't that a really good thing to do? And I'd say, yeah, there is a piece of I'm trying to protect them, but there's also a piece of I'm wanting to protect myself. I want people to admire me because of the way my kids act. And if my kids are out of bounds, then they won't admire me or see me as successful. And as a result, I need to control them.
But another reason why people become controlling is because of the abuse or the trauma that they have suffered, and they don't want it to happen again to them.
So it's back to fear.
Right.
It really is back to fear because I think I had some of that in my life with my parents' divorce, and I felt like my life was a little bit out of control. And my mom did a good job, but that's still where I went.
Yeah, I know. I put safeguards up with my kids because of the trauma that I had endured when I was really little, and I felt unprotected by my parents.
So really, it's back to trusting God to change the trajectory of your future, right? Your past does not have to equal your future. But I think when we wind up going to control, it's us trying to control all of that instead of really asking God to come in and do that.
Hmm.
The next question that comes up then is, what should I have done? I mean, if I didn't handle it correctly, what should I have done in this situation?
Well, I think you should have began with humility and truth. Just by you calling her and saying, "Hey, I see that you're at the mall. What's going on there?" That would have been truth and humility. Can you help me? I don't know.
Well, it's a good point, because my initial question on where are you was using a little bit of manipulation.
Yeah.
I knew where she was, and I was just testing her to see what she would tell me, right? And it wasn't being forthright. And so it's interesting, because here I am wanting her to be forthright with me and tell me her innermost secrets and thoughts, and yet I'm not doing that with her.
No, you're protecting yourself.
I'm protecting myself in this, and it's a little bit of a test. And I should have acknowledged that. I think also I should have not only asked the question differently here, but I should have acknowledged just my own fear, right? Hey, just want to let you know, after that whole discussion with Surfer Boy the other day, you're going to think this is crazy, Anna, but my mind started running that you're meeting him at the mall. Ha ha ha. Can you believe that? Right. So,
But some people might say, well, what if she was with Surfer Boy? Then what?
well, that is a question, right? I mean, what if I'd not been as controlling and forthright and jumping in there and going to get her, and she was with Surfer Boy? But this really does come down to releasing our fears and our own control to God, right? Do we believe that the good work that God has started in their lives will bring it to completion? Do we believe that He loves them more than us? Do we believe that they can hear His voice and follow and obey? And even in the times when they sin, do we believe that the consequences of that will play out in their life in such a way that it will draw them back toward God? They have their own journey they're following, and sometimes we want to protect them from every single thing in order that, frankly, it won't hurt us, right?
Right. We won't be hurt by it. We kind of like bubble wrap our kids for them not to experience failure. We don't want that. It looks bad on us. But in doing that, we keep them from experiencing a relationship with God that they are actually calling out to Him for help.
I mean, I should have run to faith and not fear.
Hmm.
But if you look at that, I didn't look at God. I didn't ask him if she was okay. We didn't talk about that. Conversation didn't come up at the table. I was thinking about my own instincts, my own past, my own failures, my own problems with self-control. And I became irrational and emotional. On that trip down to the mall, my emotions were in overdrive.
So when you look back at this, Phil, I mean, was it wisdom or was it protection? Was there fear? What was it?
Well, it is sometimes hard to determine all this, especially in the heat of the moment. But we do get some guidance in James about something they refer to as the wisdom that's from above, or the wisdom that is from below. And it's in James 3:13 through 18. And it describes that the wisdom that is below, which, we could argue is not even wisdom, right? But it's the
Right.
thoughts, that come in, is earthly, natural,
And demonic.
yeah, even demonic,
Yeah.
influenced by demons, right? But it says that the wisdom that is from above is gentle, pure, peaceable, reasonable, merciful, full of good fruits, unwavering, and without hypocrisy. So if I have to look and say, where was I when this was all going on?
You were in the first camp.
I was. I was in the earthly, I was in the natural wisdom. And how do I know this? Because my emotions were really controlling the show. My blood pressure was higher. My voice was coming up at the table with you. I was driving irrationally on the way down to the mall. So all these things show that I was really being ruled by my soul, by my mind, my will, and my emotions, and not by the Spirit of God in the middle of this. And that should have been a clue to me at this point.
Right, because there was no peace or calmness in your decision making.
That's right. And so as we started thinking about this when we got home, I was rather embarrassed that I went through all this and everything, but um,
That's only pride.
it was only pride. And the question comes up, what do you do when you find that you have been over controlling and everything? And so what I did is I told Anna I needed to talk to her.
Yeah, she
And
was very receptive to you too. I thought that was incredible how she kind of just listened. She put her guard down, and you explained in truth and in humbleness before her, and telling her exactly what the process that you were thinking.
it did. It was a sharing of my own fears, my own historical lack of self control, which she's heard our story before and understands that well.
Weakness. You shared a weakness.
But, I think the most important thing is it opened up the door, I think, for a future conversation. If this ever situation ever comes up again, and she knows I cared about her.
Yeah,
And
she received it like that too.
mhm. And I think in hindsight, again, I think the most important thing it did is it modeled humility for her. And Priscilla, you and I have talked about this before, that within our family, this is probably the most important thing that we can do for our kids and people that know us well, is to
Yeah.
model humility.
And, we don't always get it right. Okay. We're not perfect at this. We've just been walking this road just a few years. But one thing that is ever before us is that humility works.
And so for me, what I had to remember is that in future situations, I need to run to faith and not control, and not let my emotions and my soul lead whenever really I need the Spirit of God leading in my life.
Well, but some people might be asking this question. Is it really that simple?
That's right. I mean, what about protection? Times when people really need to be protected. What about boundaries after betrayal and
Yeah, we have
infidelity?
we do have those, right?
Yeah. And what about protecting myself from past trauma and abuse so that these things don't happen again? Surely there's got to be some areas of control that are appropriate. Well, we're going to talk about all these, and we're going to do a part 2 to this to try to answer some of these questions.
Definitely.
This is Phil and Priscilla Fretwell. Thanks for listening. Our book, Savage Marriage: Triumph Over Betrayal and Sexual Addiction, is now available on Amazon.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Savage Marriage Ministries. Also, join our Savage Marriage community at savagemarriageministries.com.
And remember, it's God who is at work in your savage adventure.